What's up? My name is Bree. Welcome to my channel, Bree the Womanican. Somebody lied to me. When I was in my junior year of high school, I was starting to think about college for the first time. I went to my advisor. I did not know what I wanted to do because I had been so busy, literally just being a kid my entire life. I told my advisor, hey, I want to get into this college. It was a college that my mother had gone to. She looked at my grades and said, why don't we look at some other places? Apply some other places, don't pull all your eggs into one basket. So I applied to 3 colleges. I got into one. Also another school my mother happened to go to. So I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. Senior year, I got senioritis pretty bad because I was an AP in honors, language arts, and history classes, but I was a dummy in math. Just terrible at it. So I missed a really helpful scholarship and had to take out loans. First off, I wanted to go to college because my mom had went to college, and college is where you go after high school, right? I wanted to be a graphic novelist because I love to tell stories. I was repeatedly told how good I was at doing art. I was like, yeah, I'll go to school and I'll learn how to be a graphic novelist. I ended up taking out around $30,000 worth of student loans to learn how to do something that I already knew how to do. But now I have a piece of paper saying that I know how to do that. You can graduate with a bachelor's of arts, or you could graduate with a bachelor's of fine arts. To graduate with a bachelor's of fine arts, you have to apply and you have to submit your work. This one girl had submitted her work so many times that by the 3rd or 4th time she submitted it, they just let her in. I got in my first try. I had a friend who had submitted twice, and for her to submit again, she was going to have to delay her graduation. I had another friend who also submitted twice, who got in the second time. This other girl she had submitted so many times, they were just like, fuck it, let's just let her in. And her art was objectively bad. And I don't mean bad like how someone thinks Picasso's art is bad, right? Picasso has a style, right? He's going for a look. This girl did not try. One time we had to submit a project that we were working on. It wasn't due yet, but it was like a milestone type of thing. This bitch pulled out some wrinkled, torn up pieces of graph paper that she had drawn the most basic ass Squidward drawings on. She clearly had forgotten about it. She did it right before class with whatever paper she found in her bag. And this bitch got into the program. She did not deserve it. This story is for me to illustrate that I am now pursuing a career in technical writing. What does that have to do with my fine arts degree? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I haven't even drawn anything in years. I actually don't even like doing it anymore. So that $30,000 that I owe, it's for nothing. I guess I got a piece of paper that says that I took a philosophy class. I guess that's what going to college is about. People like to know that you have a higher education. I'm not talking shit about college. I think college is super useful. That's not the problem. The problem is not college. It was what happened after college that was the problem. It was the promise that I was given of a career and money and all of my hopes and dreams that were supposed to happen after that. That did not happen. And what happened? Why did they not happen? I didn't realize that part of going to school is strategy. I just literally applied to college, and then I was an undeclared major for like a year and a half. And I was like, everybody always says I'm so good at art, so I'll just do art. There was no strategy there. I just thought, I'm good at art. I want to be a graphic novelist because I like reading graphic novels. Don't do what I did. Don't do that. Don't go to school for art. Don't go to school for fine arts. That's not something that you go to school for. That's a hobby that you do on the side. Don't do that. So what happened after college? I had various jobs doing whatever. Did I apply to artsy jobs? Of course I did. I applied to a lot of artsy jobs. I applied to graphic design jobs, just similar things. I did freelance work. I got a graphic design job where I was basically changing pictures and changing the font and changing the text on some bulletins that we had for a senior living community. That's when I got burnt out. with doing art. I realized that it wasn't something that I had a passion for. So I ended up just having a hodgepodge of jobs. I did Uber after that. Eventually started working at a call center. I was working on the phones. Then I realized I hated talking on the phones to people all day. So I got in really cool with my director, and when a new role opened up called Workforce Analyst, I signed up for it. And guess what being a workforce analyst is? It's a super analytical, mathy job. Guess what I was really bad at? Guess why I didn't get the scholarship and why I had to take out all those loans? It's because I was really, really, really bad at math. I think I might have actually failed my math class in high school. The reason why I laugh is because it just all seems so stupid now. Why did I have to learn trigonometry? That's what I failed. I failed trig. Why was I in that class? I was a creative person. I was a liberal arts person. Why was I taking trig in the first place? It's a waste of my fucking time. That's what. Anyway, ended up in this workforce analyst job, then somehow circled around to technical writing jobs. The reality was I thought I wanted to be a graphic novelist because I liked to draw. No, I liked to tell stories. At that time, drawing was my medium. If I was going to go to school, I should have gone to an art school, just taken out more loans, if that's the case, if I had to do it, and I should have become a storyboard artist or found some similar type of position if that's what I wanted to do. Or I could have gone to the same school that I went to and just gone to school for journalism, because that's what I really like, is I really like writing and I really like telling stories and explaining things and things like that. I didn't know that because nobody helped me pick out my major. I took an aptitude test when I was in, like a career aptitude, is that what it's called? I took one of those career tests in middle school was when I took it. It told me that I should be a lawyer because I like to argue. No, I see now that it's not that I like to argue. I like to inform. I like to tell people things. I like breaking things down and explaining things in a way that people can understand. I see now how I was told that you should follow your dreams, and in my wildest dreams, I wanted to be a graphic novelist. I didn't realize that's like a side hustle dream. But putting that aside, that's my personal story. I'm here because I wanted to talk about doomerism. Just thinking about it gets me exhausted. I don't want to talk about it. It's very tiring, but we're going to talk about it, because it's not just me that's experiencing it. A lot of people are experiencing this phenomenon and this feeling. So what is it? What is doomerism? Doomerism, or being a doomer, is the mindset that you're giving up on the traditional pursuits of owning a home, having a family, things like that, due to a perceived lack of opportunity. Ultimately, it's a feeling of, what's the point? What's the point of me doing any of this if none of it matters? What are some things that are causing doomerism? Some of the things would be unaffordable housing, like rent, lack of ability to own a home because wages have been stagnant, bleak job prospects, the fear of things like AI displacing jobs, feelings of hopelessness about large societal issues like climate change, which we didn't prevent, by the way. It's happening. Maybe if you're a Gen Z watching this, you didn't see those, but growing up as a millennial, I definitely saw a lot of stuff talking about preventing it. We didn't prevent it. Sorry, we didn't get there fast enough. Yeah, the older generations ruined the planet, so now we got to deal with that. Whatever. But dissatisfaction with current political and social systems, the negative impacts of social media and constant viewing of grim news, a lack of work-life balance, and pressures to grind endlessly with little reward. People are feeling like it's difficult to stay motivated and productive when nothing seems to matter. What's the point of putting all this energy and effort into doing anything when it's not going to pay off? A lot of people are feeling socially isolated and have a lack of community and support systems. There's a lot of mental health impacts happening, such as depression, anxiety, an overall sense of hopelessness or meaninglessness, and an overall lack of drive to improve. I told you my story because it's the story of most people. If you are a Gen Z person, you are either in high school, getting ready to go to college, or you're already in college. while me, I'm a millennial. I actually graduated 10 years ago. I have already been through that. And am I at the state of disillusionment? Girl, I didn't pass the state of disillusionment. A lot of people are told that they need to go to college, but they're not really told why, right? The reality of the situation is, I think, that unless you are going to become a doctor or a lawyer or something that requires a high specialization, you probably don't even need to go to college. I hate saying that because I've been such an advocate for going to college. There's so many other things that college brings to you that I can see when I'm talking to someone who has versus has not been to college. College is really good at giving you perspective that a lot of people don't get just going out into the real world after school. Also, when I'm talking to people who have been to college versus haven't been to college, there's clearly a difference in like their speech patterns and the words that they have access to in their dictionary, in their internal dictionary. It is a different lifestyle. I will say going to college, it does something. But are those changes worth $30,000 is what I want to know. Are the things that I learned in college that have nothing to do with my career worth it? I will say I did enjoy a lot of the courses, like taking psychology. I didn't know that I actually didn't know how evolution worked until I got into psychology. I'm in the South. I don't think they taught us right. I don't think it was my fault. I'm in Georgia. I don't think they even really taught me, to be honest. So color me embarrassed when I get into my first psychology or philosophy. Was it psychology or one of those classes, and my professor's explaining about evolution and adaptation. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not how it works. Anyway. But I tell you this because I did all that. I was in college for 4 years. I owe all this money, and bitch, I'm not making six figures. I was thinking today about my priorities in life, and I was thinking about the fact that my first priority is finding a partner. I will make a video on another aspect of what I'm about to say next at another time. Because I've noticed that a lot of people are having to move back home with their parents in their 20s, and I've seen them crying about it on TikTok, saying that they hate it. I actually had an abusive partner before that I was living with, and I refused to move back home because I would rather be physically abused by this person than have to go back to living with my family where I had no independence or autonomy. Yeah, that's crazy. But why was I even in that position if I was a college graduate, right? My college did not set me up to succeed. And even if that had happened, even with my college degree, like I didn't know all the things that you're supposed to know when going out there to get a job. And even when I did finally get a job, it wasn't enough for me to live on my own. I've been struggling every second of my adulthood, okay? I will definitely say I like my apartment in the area that I live in, and it's nice, but it was a struggle to get here. And now that I'm unemployed, I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? I wanted to have a 1-bedroom / almost studio ass apartment in the city, and what have I done? I was watching some video. It had me thinking about what do I want the most in life? And I thought, shit, what I want the most is a partner. And I'm like, why is that? Why do I want a partner more than I want anything else? And it's like, bitch, you can't do anything by yourself. I can barely afford to feed myself, let alone fulfill any other dream that I have, because living is so expensive. Feeding myself is so expensive. Existing is so expensive. Everything costs so much money. That goes back into, I refuse to leave that partner to go back and live with my family because I couldn't afford to live by myself. Even when I was working my previous job, I always had a side hustle. My job has never been enough for me to be able to afford to live comfortably. I've always had to have a side hustle. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, rent's incredibly expensive. I lived in this apartment that I'm in for 4 years now, and my rent has gone up $500 in the 4 years that I've lived here. I wasn't gonna laugh, but it's incredible. I feel like my gums are like too pink. I like it. Wish they were a little darker, just a little. Anyway, bleak job prospects, which is the reason why I bring up my degree and my former aspirations, was they mean nothing. I'm gonna tell you you that right now. They mean nothing. I think having a degree will probably get you a second glance versus someone just looking at your resume once, but I cannot say for certainty that having a degree has improved my prospects. I'm not sure. That job that I got at that call center, I was one of the very few people there that had a degree. The one that was the jump starting for me to get all the other jobs that I had, I was one of the very few people there that got a degree. Like I said, I think that college is a great experience, but to me, college is like studying abroad. It's something that is probably super transformative and amazing, and your life is probably forever changed and you're a different person for doing it, but that doesn't mean that it's worth $30,000, okay? I just don't think that's what that means. I don't think those things equate. I think there's a lot of things that happen in college that you could have learned in high school when they were trying to force feed me fucking trigonometry, which I was never going to use a day in my life. They could have been teaching me philosophy then, and I could have known about evolution the right way. In terms of AI and automation displacing jobs, yeah, AI is going to displace some jobs, and people have to learn how to pivot and do other things. Because if you think about it, the reality is if a computer can do it better, I want the computer to do it better. I don't want people doing things that computers can do better. That's just the case. I don't believe that things should stay the way that they are just because somebody else had it. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, when Walmart started appearing and they started pushing out the mom and pops, how do I feel about that? I guess you gotta weigh your pros and cons. Walmart comes in, it's a superstore, and it pushes out this mom and pop, and these people lose their business, right? But I'm thinking about all the people that go to Walmart that are able to buy things at very low prices. A lot of Walmarts are in low income areas. Walmart takes things like WIC and EBT that a lot of people there use. I don't know if mom and pop were taking WIC and EBT. Walmart's able to put things on clearance. Walmart has them low prices. So mom and pop lose their store, but all these other people gain the benefits of having accessible, cheap, whether you think they're cheaply made or not, they're a cheap product when you need something. I think if you feel like AI is going to displace your job, you have to find ways to bring value in other ways, or you have to find another job. You got to pivot by stepping ahead of the curve before it happens. Is that a right expression? I don't know. But I say that because that sucks. I'm not trying to argue against that sucking. A lot of jobs now are actually incorporating AI. I'm trying to get into technical writing. And even though technically ChatGPT could probably write up something and it sounds good, you still need a human touch to at least go over it and put things right and correct things if it gets things wrong. I don't think any company would want a computer coming up with all of their official documents, but it's definitely going to be very helpful to me in my career as a technical writer, because I'm sure I'll be using it to help me make sure that things make sense and checking for readability and things like that. Anyways, I feel like I'm still in a freaking interview right now. As far as dissatisfaction with current social and political systems, bitch, I am out of it. I'm so out of politics. I don't know who the fuck I'm voting for. Not like, am I gonna vote for Donald Trump? I wanted Bernie Sanders to win because I'm a progressive, okay? I am all for progression. But I'm a progressive, and I really hated that I felt like I didn't have a say. There was not a progressive person on the ballot these past few elections. The past two elections with Trump, with Hillary, and with Biden, I felt like I just had to vote for the lesser of two evils, and that fucking sucks. And there are definitely ways to get active in politics and helping in things, but it's got to be practical. I was donating. Am I still donating? I don't know if I'm still donating, but I was donating regularly to Bernie Sanders' campaign for like years. And I was just giving whatever I could because that was the way that I was choosing to help. But I definitely feel disillusioned with the current political climate. And I think, is it going to change? Of course it's going to change, because it always changes. Eventually things happen. People get pulled into things kicking and screaming. A new generation comes up, and things that were crazy to the older generations are normal to the new generation. So I think it'll change. Negative impacts of social media and constant viewing of grim news. As a person who watches true crime regularly, like As I was getting ready to film this video, I was watching Dr. Grande. I guess that's different than if it's current. I don't know. I guess you have to balance that out. And as far as the negative impacts of social media, I guess that would be comparing yourself to other people and wanting to keep up with other things like that. We're in a climate that we've never been in before. We've never had social media like it is right now. It's just never existed. So we don't know what to do about it. Being disillusioned about it and wanting to give up because we don't know what to do about social media just doesn't sound productive to me. Yes, the problem exists, but I think you got to come up with productive solutions. Also, just be self-aware. You got to protect your mental health. How do I deal with social media? Honestly, I've dealt with social media very poorly in my 20s because I share everything with you guys because you guys are my friends. I used to stalk people all the time. Yeah, I used to stalk people all the time. I had a crush on this guy and I stalked him for 10 years. That's right. I made a whole video about it. Okay. It's called one-itis. It's when you like one person. I guess it wasn't true one-itis. I had crushes in between. But I had a fixation on this guy, and because I could only access him through social media, that's where I would look. And I would look at his friend group and I would see the type of girls that he liked based on who he was dating. It's creepy. I'm not saying that it's not creepy. I was constantly comparing myself to his female friends and his family members and just other females that I thought that he liked and trying to figure out what the fuck I was doing wrong. Because I would look at their pages and then I would look at my page and be like, what am I doing wrong? Now I've actually gained a lot of subscribers since my last video, which is awesome. Thank you for that. But I feel like I had to find the interaction with social media that was healthy for me. My first thing was definitely I had to detach from it, like emotionally detach from it, mentally detach from it. And then I had to come back and see, okay, how can I interact with it? I'm no longer allowed to stalk people. I had to tell myself that was wrong and that wasn't productive. If I am interested in somebody, I'm not going to their page ever, even if we follow each other or something like that. Also, I only consume one type of social media, and that is Instagram. Not to say that you have to do that, but you have to find out which social media is the least toxic to you, where you can still interact with people. If you have to block people that didn't do anything wrong because you feel jealousy that's toxic to you, do what you have to do. If you have to unfollow those people because you don't want to see what they're posting, do what you have to do. Not to say you have to do that forever, but definitely do that until you're at a point where you can absorb that type of information and all that stuff without feeling like shit. That's what I had to do. I have a friend right now that I've blocked their story because their stories depress me. Not because I'm jealous or anything like that. It's more so because that friend did something without me and I got butthurt about it. So I had to protect my mental health by just not looking at their stories for a little bit. One day I'll unblock their stories, but I'm just not ready to do that right now. And I think that's completely fine. Do whatever you got to do to protect your mental health, okay? You ain't got to tell nobody. I'm telling you so you can do it too, but you don't have to tell nobody. I'm aware that this sounds pathetic, okay? And I'm okay with it because I'm here to help, okay? Somebody's out there yelling. My nosy ass. My dog is back there like, bitch, what's going on? As for climate change, I can only do what I can, right? I'm flexitarian. I try not to eat any meat or animal products at home. Animal products are a very large contributor to factory farming. It's also just probably healthier to do that. You probably eat too much meat if you're eating meat when you go out and also regularly eating meat at home. I'm always conserving electricity because I kind of just like the mood better. I like it. It's a good vibe. I keep my AC off as much as I can. I don't drive anywhere, really. You can try to get a job that's remote or hybrid or close to your home if you're trying to help. And you can also donate if you're able to do so. The reason why I say all this is because there is nothing that you, one singular person, can do. You cannot single-handedly do anything about climate change. Now, unless you really want to get into it and dedicate your life to it and researching it and studying it, you can only do what you can. You can only do these very small things. Buying local, that's also very good. But I'm not going to lie, I use Amazon Prime for a lot of stuff. Out of pure convenience, bitch. I can't even lie. So I just try to do it where I can. And I think you just have to vote the right people into office that are going to force these larger corporations who actually can make a difference to do better. That's what I think. I don't know. That's just my angle of coming at it. I just try to do what I can. Lack of work-life balance, the pressures to grind. I haven't even figured this one out. I'm not going to lie. I watched a wonderful video. I'm going to link it below. I hope I remember to link it below. But I watched a wonderful video that perfectly explained the issues with work and the 9-to-5 in particular. First off, I'm aware that it's no longer a 9-to-5, it's really an 8-to-5, but we're going to say 9-to-5 because you know what it means, I know what it means. It's universal to mean a full-time 40-hour-a-week job. So the 9-to-5 was originally created by, was it Ford or General Motors? One of those assembly line places. And basically before, companies could require workers to work for hours a day, like 12 hours a day. I think it's Ford. Ford came on the scene and said, look, we'll pay you the same amount of money as this other company, but you'll only have to work 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. And it's guaranteed work, and that's all you have to do. The video was saying that for an assembly line worker who has basically the same workload every single day at any point, because you're doing the same task day in and day out, that worked. But there's so many different types of jobs now. You have jobs now where you just don't have 40 hours worth of work some weeks, and some weeks you have more. And we're still working these very ancient now hours. It depends on the job. Some people still have jobs that are very much aligned with the 9-to-5, and then some people don't. And the past few jobs I've had, that's just not been the case. So you end up sitting around on the clock, just waiting the clock down to when you can log off or when you can go home if you have to go into a job. And obviously that's really draining on your mental health. So those are things that companies have to catch up with. And unfortunately, companies want you to stay there and they want you to be bored at your desk and sit there because they feel like they're paying for it. They would rather you sit there at your desk bored with nothing to do than you leave early because they feel like they're not getting their money's worth of your time. We have to just keep pushing for more progressive jobs. You might be thinking like, well, bitch, what are you doing about it? I lost a whole job because I was trying to get my job to live up to their progressive standards that they had set forth for the company. I'm like, you said you're a progressive company. I want you to show that shit. And you're not doing that. I was really firm and I just didn't budge. I kept going to my boss and saying, hey, this is unfair. Hey, this sucks. And then that's how I got fired. That's really all I can do is just not stand for it. That's the only thing you can do. If a company is trying to put these old toxic work culture ideals onto you, you have to push back against them. And yeah, you might lose your job. And not everybody is cut out for that. That's all you can do on a personal level. On a larger scale, you can definitely be active, getting the word out about this, talking about this. If your company provides you to have like anonymous Q&A things, ask it then. Ask it to the freaking president or the freaking owner if you can. And then just be firm about that. Talk to people around you, get more people on board. I talk to anybody I can about that. The idea of having a row type of work day where you get paid for the work that you do, not how much time you spend sitting at a desk. But you get paid the same, so it's not like you'd be making less money. As for it being difficult to stay motivated when nothing seems to matter, you have to find the stuff that matters to you. Nobody can give your life meaning but you. And it's hard. It's so hard. I feel burnt out with life all the time. I don't want this to get too dark. I've had end it all thoughts. Before getting to a certain point, I never understood why anybody could think like that. Why would anybody do anything like that? I realize it's when you don't think that you have a future. That was the catalyst to how I felt. I thought, if the rest of my life is like this, what's the fucking point? Besides the love that I have for my family and being unable to do that to them, obviously if you don't have a family, that would be a lot tougher. Or if you don't have a good relationship with your family, that'd be a lot tougher. But something that was really keeping me afloat was I had no proof that that was better. I'm an atheist, so I don't really believe in an afterlife. For me, it was like, once I do that, there's no coming back from that. And I don't know what that is. As far as I know, that it's just lights out and I cease to exist. Just because you are freezing to death on a frozen tundra in Siberia does not mean that you want the equal and opposite opposition to that, which would be burning to death in a volcano. So what you want is for things to get better. And the desire and the hope that things can be better is what keeps me going every single day. I am going to be 33 this year and I want kids. kids and I want to be married and I want to have a family and all that lame shit. But I do. I want it. I feel like that's what's supposed to happen next. And it's not. And I have no prospects. I'm not talking to anyone. I've been single for 4 years. If you've seen that video, I dated a guy who was 7 years younger than me. That is the last person I've dated. I know there are going to be guys who are going to comment and be like, oh, it's because you have red hair and you're wearing a Justin Bieber shirt. First of all, people like this hair, okay? Second of all, in 20 years, this shirt is going to be vintage, okay? Don't hate. So yeah, I want those things. I have no idea where they're going to come from. I hate the apps. I'm not really meeting anybody in the grocery store. I don't entertain strangers. So where am I supposed to meet someone? Bitch, I don't know. But that's the thing though. I have to figure it out. That's what keeps me going, is knowing that I don't know how I'm going to get these things, but I have to figure it out. When things aren't happening and you can't picture what your life is going to be like in 10 years or worse, you're afraid that it's going to be the same as it is right now and you're not happy right now. You have to do something different. That is the only advice that I can give you, is you have to change. Because if you change, your life is guaranteed to change. So something else I did, I was unhappy with my weight, so I lost 20 pounds. That's not easy. You got to figure out what works for you. That was my first hurdle, was just figuring out how the fuck am I going to lose 20 pounds. And bitch, I just had to figure that shit out because I gained a lot of weight from catching COVID. But me being unhappy with my weight was causing me to have insecurities about my body. So I didn't want to meet anybody because I didn't feel confident or sexy. And whenever somebody would try to touch me, I would feel insecure about it. So I'm like, okay, I need to get into a body that I feel sexy in. Obviously, I don't want to sound fat phobic. I'm not trying to say that if you are of a larger size that you're not sexy, but I didn't feel sexy, bitch. So I did what I had to do. So now the next step is working on the outward appearance, the clothing, and after that, who knows? I'm learning to enjoy the journey of getting to the things that I want. As for the lack of drive to improve a situation, like I said, you have to give your own life meaning. Nobody can do that for you. Some people find meaning in helping others. Some people find meaning in improving their own life. I know that there's a lot of studies that say that you find the greatest meaning when you're helping others. Like you feel the best, and that makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. We're humans, we're very social creatures, so it would make sense that you feel most fulfilled when you are able to help your community. Honestly, making these videos makes me feel like I'm helping my community. You guys are my community, and all the work that I put in to make these videos and all the money that I've had to spend on equipment and programs? Those things that you download in your computer so you can do stuff. Those things. Applications? It makes it all worth it, is what I'm trying to say. As for the fear of dealing with adversity, there's so much progress that has been made in the face of adversity, and this too shall pass. You just have to ride it out. And Alexa, turn on all my lights. Okay. That's gonna be a pain in the ass later when I'm editing and I have to hear that shit, and it's gonna do that again when I'm editing. But there's a lot of progress that has been made. You think the slaves thought that there would ever be a black president? No. They couldn't fathom it. And I know that was a long time ago, and it took a long time for us to have a black president. But what I'm saying is, I think that change is not only going to happen, but I think it's exponential. I think that once the ball gets rolling on one thing, it's much easier for the ball to get rolling on other things. So I would just say continue to be the face of change and continue to be patient with change, even if it is slow. Once again, do what you can. Help out in your community. Do things in your community. If your community is online, great. Do things in your online community. Go and volunteer your time, or just do small things in your house. So that's all you have to do. Like I said, in my house, I just do things around here to help out with the environment. I can't force everybody to not eat meat. I can't force everybody to not drive certain cars or to not order things on Amazon because I struggle doing it myself. When is Amazon gonna get like drones, okay? When are we gonna get those drones? Then they could just land on my roof and then I could go up and grab it from the roof. Wouldn't that be so cool? I can't wait. But then that's gonna displace the Amazon drivers. Maybe the drivers would turn into pilots. Maybe they would pilot the drones, unless the drones don't need pilots. I'm sure there are other jobs they could do. They're gonna need engineers to keep those drones maintained. that's a job. And then a person is going to have to program the drones, so they're going to need a programmer. I think a future can be made there. Somebody's going to have to clean the drones. What is that? The cleaner. Somebody's going to have to fix them, like a mechanic or something. I think that there is progress to be made. I think it's happening. People are having less kids. It's shown that as a nation gets more educated, that their birth rates go down. So less people means that there's going to be less people fighting for these jobs in the first place. Now, if people are worried about losing lower skilled jobs, maybe let's get rid of lower skilled people. That sounds very eugenic-y. What I mean to say is let's turn those low skilled workers into high skilled workers, into specialized workers. But for that, people would need to be properly educated, and not everybody can afford to go to college or wants to go to college or wants to spend 4 years in college. So what are the options there? We got to see, that's part of the shit that we got to figure out. Ultimately, you have complete autonomy over your own life. You can choose to be a victim of your generation, or you can choose to accept the world that you were born into. And what I mean is a lot of people blame boomers for ruining everything for everybody else. And I'm like, bitch, if you were born in the 50s, you would be doing the same thing. You would have made the same choices because they were born when they were born and they are a product of their time, just like you are a product of your time. It's just like everybody thinks that if they were born in like the 1800s that they wouldn't be racist. Bitch, yes, you would be, just like everybody else, okay? So I don't blame the boomers for doing what they did because they chewed up those opportunities that were brought to them. The system was there for them to exploit, so that's what they did. You would have done it too if that were you. I know you don't want to hear that, but you probably would have. Just like if you find $20 on the ground and nobody's around to see you pick it up, what are you going to do with it? I don't know. I bet a lot of y'all motherfuckers would turn that shit in. Y'all are such good people. But some of us were born poor and would never consider that for a second. I remember a boy in my classroom. I had such a huge crush on him. He found $10 on the floor. He turned it into the teacher, and I openly said out loud, mind you, this was like when I started going to a predominantly white school for the first time, and I was like a poor little black kid. And I openly said out loud, I would have kept it. I never would have turned it in. And 20 years later, I'm like, oh my God, I probably sounded like a terrible person. And I said that right in front of my crush. Still think about that. Oh, Joe. Sweet Joe. He's a firefighter now. He's a cool guy. He's a firefighter. He's got 2.5 kids. He's got a Great Dane named Scooby-Doo. Now you're gonna go find him. I don't care. Don't harass Joe. Okay, leave Joe alone. So as far as finding purpose, you have to find your own purpose. I said this already. You got to find your own purpose. You got to find things in your life that you enjoy that can keep you sane. Find the stuff that you're going to like doing no matter what. For me, I like walking in the park. I like taking care of my pets. I like to read, and I like to write. And those things keep me sane. You definitely want to have a good community around you. It's really hard for those of us who are socially awkward and struggle to make friends. I'm one of those people. Hi, hello. And a lot of people don't have really good home support systems. I'm lucky to have a really great family. And I just had a vacation with my family last week, which is why I didn't post last week, and I feel like shit about it. And I'm like, oh no. But I really value time with my family. And I was like, it's just a sacrifice I'm willing to make. If it fucks up my analytics, so be it. I definitely think that grassroots activism and pushing for systemic changes can definitely go a long way to changing things, because while the rest of us are maintaining our individual lives and trying to push through it and doing those little changes that we can and affecting change here and there definitely have to be people out there on the ground fighting for the things that we need. I think about my boss. I had 2 bosses at my last job. I had 3, but we're not going to count the middle boss. My first boss was all about social justice and social activism, and he would stand up and say, no, we're not going to do that. He would always give us projects that would benefit our skill set, and he always provided us resources and training. He would always listen to us when we had concerns and try to make adjustments based off of the feedback that we gave him. The boss that fired my ass did none of that. Absolutely none of it. He put me on a PIP after being my manager for a month and fired the fuck out of my ass, even when I was in training for another team. You see the difference? One of those bosses chose to be a good person and the other one decided to follow the status quo. Which person are you going to be? Are you going to be the person who's willing to enact change, or are you going to be the person who's following the status quo so you can save your own ass? If you must know, both of these people are making the same amount of money. This person, status quo fuck, actually had no kids. He's not married. He had nothing to lose. This guy had 2.5 kids and a whole wife. He had everything to lose. And he still made the effort for us because he knew, as I said to my interviewer earlier today, a bad boss can ruin your life. So that's what I mean by being cognizant of the decisions that you're making on every level that you possibly can. Definitely don't lose hope. Now, one thing I didn't want to do in this video was shit on the boomers. I feel like they get that enough. I genuinely think that if you were born a boomer, you would be just like that. Just shitting on boomers and the decisions that their generation decided to make is not productive. Learning from the history of the decisions that they made and realizing, oh, okay, so when the circumstances were like this, these were the choices that these people made, and this is what it led to. Okay, how do we get those benefits back, but with the things that we know now? How can we apply what we know now about the history of how this happened to get us in a direction that we need to go? That is really all I wanted to talk about for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more content from me. I hope this video was not too dark and scary for you. I'm also gonna have to put a trigger warning in there somewhere. Dear God, why did I do this? Anyway, you guys have been great. Thank you. Oh man, I forgot about my outro. It's 1 a.m. I gotta start recording these at night, but I like the ambiance. Anyway, if you made it this far, you're super awesome. You're great. And I love ya in a parasocial type of way. But anyway, thanks for watching.